The men are back home. They are back on Canadian soil, guys. They're going to be getting ready to report to camps for their pro teams for MLS. Some guys like Alistair Johnson, Ismail Kone, they're going off to their new teams. And now that we look back at their group, and you look at Croatia advancing to the semifinals, you look at Morocco making the quarterfinals for the first time, but looking really good. And I am really curious to see how they're going to do against Portugal. Does it make you kind of reflect on that group a little bit differently, Ollie, and just, does it bring to the forefront how much of an underdog Canada actually was?
Yeah, I think it has to a little bit. Like, I think Croatia, there was some stuff about them aging and so on, which I don't think was ever really accurate. I always thought that would be the most difficult game in the group for Canada. But I think the one that is surprising and does cause you to reassess Canada's group stage a little bit is Morocco, right? I know Canada didn't play them until the last game and they're already out anyway. But there was a question about how good this Morocco team would be. Yes, there's talent there for them to potentially get out of the group, and certainly more on paper than Canada have, particularly in certain positions that are a weakness for Canada. But they also changed their coach a few months ago, and you never know how that's going to disrupt a team, whether it's going to be a good thing, a bad thing. It's clearly been an absolute masterstroke as far as Morocco are concerned. The new coach has done an outstanding job. They've been brilliantly organized. They deserve to be where they are in the tournament now. That's the one where I think you're probably changing your perspective a little bit from where it was before the tournament. Belgium were disappointing. Croatia, I think, were as good as everyone expected them to be. But you have to say that Morocco was a much more difficult third game than probably we anticipated.
Mm-hmm. Wheels, what about you? I feel like you were always kind of tooting that horn of don't count anyone out in this group, right? When it comes to Canada going up against them.
Yeah. You read a lot of articles about Canada's performance, and a lot of them were very negative about John Herdman and his tactics in games. I thought there was well over the top and was a little bit naive, to be honest with you. I thought Herdman did a good job, all things considered, from a tactical perspective. Like, Canada's strengths are to go out and press and push and play that fearless brand of football. They lost Eustachio. I've dealt with all the issues that they had coming into camp, which meant that, maybe being a little bit more tactically versatile just kind of wasn't in the cards. But this Morocco side, there's an article actually was written in a UK publication where Herdman was talking about playing Morocco, and he made the comment that, I heard a bunch of pundits say that Morocco is going to be our toughest game, and then I started scouting them, and I realized that wasn't the case. He claims that the back four plus the goalkeeper are as good as it gets in this tournament. Some of the top performers, and he knew that coming in, that there would be such a difficult team to even score a goal against. And the one factor, he said, that his team was rattled. The fact that there's 40,000 Moroccan fans with the Arab world and the African world all coming together to support Morocco. Mm-hmm. He said it was an environment that I don't think that we've ever played in. I certainly have never been part of. That's John Herdman saying that, not me. And I think that plays a real factor as well. So Morocco, with the circumstances surrounding it, man, that was a tough game. World-class right and left back as well. Belgium, Croatia, this was an exceptionally difficult group. I think we all agreed, guys, heading into the World Cup, that this was the toughest group that they played. And I just hope, I think there's a lot of people still learning what this Canadian team's about. There's a lot of people that are still trying to get educated in the way that the football world works. I think that some of the criticism of Herdman and company was way over the top and a little bit off-putting to me, because there's a lot to be proud of in the way that they kind of went out there and played such competitive football for as long as they did.
Yeah, and I know that, obviously you're very excited given the ride this team brought you on during qualification and doing things that they had never done before or hadn't done in years. But then I guess, Jordan, when you get to the World Cup, we kept talking about, it's a different stage, manage the moment. But I wonder how many people realized what they were saying. Do you know what I mean? Because until you experience it, and to your point, Wheels, that Morocco game, when you're trying to communicate with players and the reverberation, it's in your chest and they can't hear you, even a guy who's standing 5 feet away from you, that is an environment where players, you can see where they just go, oh, this is what you mean about the World Cup stage being different. This is what you mean about learning how to manage the moment, right? And sometimes you can kind of freak out and panic. Experience only gets you past that type of stage, right? So I don't know, Jordan, when you look at that group, and you do look at the teams that were in Canada's group, were all teams that have been to World Cups, at least within the 36 years too, right? Like it's been, since 1986 for Canada. Do you look at their performance a little differently now?
I think I look at it pretty much the same how we came into it, that Canada were ultra underdogs. Now they have talent, but Belgium underachieved this tournament. That should be a team that at least went to the round of 16. We said Morocco was a dark horse potentially in the group, but now I think we can all agree they're the dark horse in the tournament. And Croatia, you can't count them out. People are saying, oh, are they the worst quarterfinal team or eighth team to go be in the quarterfinals? Like, absolutely not. They don't play the most attractive football, but they know how they're going to play and they know what to do to get to that level. So I think in the long scheme of things, I think this was the best thing for Canada, to play in a group that was just so demanding, that you're going to a Morocco game where you can't really even hear each other when you're saying certain things to a player that's 20 yards from you, but you're also just coming off of a game against Belgium, which you feel like you should have had something more out of. And then Croatia, where you got pumped a bit and knocked around, but that's what Canada needed. Now, I think it just echoes what we were saying, like the difficulty of that group and to play that competition. I don't think there was a harder group this World Cup. And you see it right now with Morocco and Croatia being some of the last teams standing. Like it was a tall order to ask of the boys, but I want to commend Herdman for playing the way that he did and putting in because Canada didn't have a team to sit back, to play passive, to park the bus. Like you have to go and play that type of football that's attractive, that's daring, that's brave. And that's what they did. Now, the question is, can they do that and be better at it? So when they're playing teams like this in the future, they can actually have that 1-2 punch to knock them out.
Yeah, this is what it's all about, right? Get to the World Cup in 2022, get that experience, lay the groundwork for 2026. And guys, we all know Herdman maybe took a few days off, but he knows, in his words, I only have 3.5 years, right?